At many places in the Upanishads, as in the portion which we will be seeing in this episode 28 of the series Know the Upanishads, we have certain words of caution, certain warning given to us. Warning in what context? For what reason? Even very good scholars tend to conceptualize the truth. They try to put truth within certain words, certain descriptions. They bring it within the ambit of the mind, of thought. Upanishads say again and again, it is untouched by thought, it is not grasped by the mind, or for that matter, speech. And yet, attached as we are to words, to concepts, to images, to pictures, to ideas, to beliefs, we are attached to all these very much. And because of this attachment, even in the profound study of the Upanishads, we somehow get stuck with particular concept. And therefore, the Upanishads have to whip us up at many places. One such place is where it is a brilliant lady disciple, a lady student of the Upanishads named Gārgi. Gārgi is one of the 8 questioners in the 3rd chapter of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. You have King Janaka announcing certain very, very coveted, highly enviable reward. He says, I will give this reward to anyone in my kingdom or from outside too, who knows the highest truth of the Vedas. And many learned people gather, and this is that instance where one of them is a very well-read woman. We have in Brihadāranyaka Upanishad itself, Maitreyi in another context, and over here, Gārgi. Orthodox must say this Gārgi was a very elderly woman, and yes, elderly women were in fact initiated into the Vedanta, the Vedas also, and so on. Orthodoxy generally discourages younger women from taking up profound study of the Vedas. But today we are at such times where a number of organizations have sprung up outside Hinduism and within Hinduism too. Maybe it all started towards the end of the 19th century when Swami Vivekananda broke all barriers. He broke out of the shell of orthodoxy and made the wisdom available to all and stood by everybody's right to this highest wisdom. So, whether Gārgi was a relatively younger woman who was permitted those days to get into the debates in a king's court, or she was a very elderly person coming from certain family of very, very erudite Vedic scholars, We do not know. We need not get much into it also. So Gārgi, in fact, asks a question in the whole chapter. She enters twice. She enters the scene two times. First time when she enters the scene, she asks certain question and then goes further into certain depths of the question, and it appears that she violates certain norms of dignified dialogue, dignified uh, dealing or engagement with wise people. She did not show disrespect to the person, but the way she went about asking questions had certain element of skipping some steps and suddenly jumping over to something which was almost irrelevant. That's a different matter, but I must say that she was disallowed to continue. She was asked to withdraw. In fact, Yajnavalkya says to her, "You are not carrying on the process in a proper way. You better double check whether you are going by acceptable ways. If you simply, out of over enthusiasm, out of certain talkativeness, or sometimes, in very many discussions, there are participants who even try to show off how well read they are. And truly wise people do not like it. And Yajnavalkya warns Gārgi, if you go one step further in this fashion, your head will fall upon the earth. In fact, in the ninth, another Vedic scholar called Vidagdha Shakalya, in some other matter, in some other way, also violates certain norms. And Yajnavalkya warns him also, hold on, don't step further. If you do, your head will fall. And in that ninth Brahmana section of the third chapter, Vidagdha Shakalya doesn't listen to Yajnavalkya and goes further, and the mantras of the Brihadāranyaka say his head actually fell down on the ground. These have probably symbolic meanings too. We shall examine that later. But coming back to what we want to discuss here, Gārgi does withdraw in the first occurrence or first instance of her entering the debate. But later on, in the eighth Brahmana, she re enters. Therefore, we have 9 Brahmanas and only 8 questioners. And Gārgi asks this time with very great care, and she goes about the process of uh, engaging in a discussion with all proper discipline. Every subject has its own discipline. And this metaphysics has its own discipline too. And this time Yajnavalkya heartily welcomes her, and noticing that she is going about the matter in a very proper way, is delighted. In fact, he goes into great happiness to answer her questions. So we find that she uses a little traditional language which can perhaps have its own interpretations in modern times. But in this brief session on Know the Upanishads, let me put it this way. She asks about essentially a certain truth that underlies the dualistic appearance of this entire creation. This creation has the earth, the interspace, the heavens, and those wise people of those days had gone into the metaphysics of this entire creation very deeply. They knew that appearances are deceptive. They knew that behind and beneath what hits our eyes, there are deeper truths, and they had intuitively seen the highest truth in which all else merges. In the philosophical language, everything else merges in one non dual truth. Therefore, this whole philosophy, as you know, is called Advaita Vedanta. In all the Upanishads, you have statements like Brahma alone is, there is nothing other than Brahma. So, Gargi's question, which to pick up a particular phrase in the several uh, words that she develops thought, boils down to what pervades Akasha? What pervades? What is into Akasha? Akasha is space. It's interesting that after thousands of years, after this Gārgi Yajnavalkya dialogue took place, where Gārgi asked what is subtler than Akasha, what supports Akasha. In the last century, we had physicists like Einstein going into the question of space and time, and they were looking for the deeper truths of space and time. Of course, Einstein contributed his insight that space and time are not discontinuous, unconnected entities. They are connected to each other. That itself was a mind blowing discovery by him. And add to it, he talked about the relativity of space and time. In Indian philosophy, this philosophy takes both outer space and outer time on one hand, and inner space and inner time also on the other. Chronological time, psychological time, physical space, if we may call it so, and mental space, the space that we can visualize within ourselves. Today we talk about psychological space. We talk about freedom. We talk about how there has to be, air to breathe. In certain relationships, like children demand their own space, and if parents want to help them, children these days are more upfront. They say to mother and father also, please leave us alone. I'll find out for myself. I'll do this for myself, and so on. Whether they are truly mature or not is a different question. So, Gargi's question, in what truth, in what higher truth, is space also covered? If space were to be made of certain warp and woof, if space were to made of, certain, in a figurative manner, threads that go vertically and horizontally. As you know, cloths are made, a piece of cloth is made of threads going crisscross. So the idiom goes warp and woof. In Sanskrit and in many Indian languages, for that scenario, the word is called ota and prota. Otam protam. So we have Gargi asking the question, Otancha protham. Kasmin otancha protham. In the seventh mantra of this particular section called Brahmana, that is third chapter, eighth Brahmana, and seventh mantra. Mantra ends with the expression Kasmin Akashaha Otascha Protascha. It is almost equivalent to, let us say, you meet Albert Einstein or some scientist of today who has totally understood Albert Einstein's theories of relativity, and you ask that person, you too having a great amount of mastery over the required physics, you ask, what is the truth in which space and time are perceived, their dilation or their contraction is perceived, their all movements, their all phenomena uh, are held in place as though, what is it which is we may call the substrate for space and time? Is there something subtler than space and time? So without connecting too much with physics, let us go into this philosophical expression, Kasmin Akashaha Otascha Pretascha. Otascha Protascha. Ota Prota. So Akasha as though is strung together on something that is deeper. So this is where let us start with a couple of slides now. We have the 28th episode in this Know the Upanishad series. There is a punchline in the couple of mantras we have specially selected where Yajnavalkya says human life is utterly incomplete unless one knows this ultimate truth in which space itself is strung together, time is strung together, as though it is the screen on which the play, the projection, the leela of Akasha and Kala take place. Some of you have studied Dakshinamurti Stotra. Shankaracharya says there, Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitra Chitri Kritam. He talks about Desha and Kala being Maya Kalpita. They don't really exist. They are Kalpita. They are perceived, they are visualized, they are imagined, and that imagination is so powerful at our level that they appear very real. And if somebody talks about Brahman or Atman, we think that that person is imagining something. Where is Brahman? Where is God? What happened to you? Come on. This is the reality, they would say. But in advanced spiritual awareness, one understands the truth of the Advaita Vedanta. So we have this small clip from the mantra, Aviditva, without knowing this Akshara, the supreme truth, Asmat Lokat Praiti. One leaves, one proceeds, only to come back, of course. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. However, from a narrow window of viewing, one's life ends and relatives and friends cry over the dead body and they use the word he is gone. He is gone, she is gone. Pra eti. Eti itself means goes. But then pra you add, it is like yana itself is travel. Then you have prayana. Prayana in many spiritual contexts stands for the death. Prayana kale manasachalena. There is a shloka in the 8th chapter of Gita. Their prayana is not from Mumbai to Delhi or San Francisco to Los Angeles. No such thing. Prayana is the soul, the Jivatma, leaves this entire domain of this world which we perceive and moves in certain unknown terrain, and eventually this Jivatma, individual soul, may again get as though encapsulated in yet another physical body of this world. So, this world generally we take as the reference plane. Vedanta doesn't admit this world that you and I know, this universe that you and I know, this huge universe in which there is this galaxy called Milky Way. In this Milky Way, there is a solar system. In this solar system, there are many planets. One of them is the Earth. On this Earth, there are continents and oceans. Among the continents, in the continent called Asia, there is this country, India. There is this state, Maharashtra. There is Pune, and I am in Pune. Like this, someone in Pune may say. This universe is the reference. With reference to the universe, all this is taught. Vedanta asks, who gave you the right to take this universe as the starting point? Vedanta proposes certain truth, knowing which, or upon knowing which, this entire universe becomes a plaything, becomes a toy as though in your hands. And we are not interested in toys and playing around. We are interested in ending of sorrow. And the Vedanta says, without mincing words, all sorrow ends when your very misunderstanding about who you are and what the universe is ends. The ego should end. The little self should end, making way for your insight to the pure, unbounded, unbound self. In the Vedanta, we talk about the death of the limited self and the discovery or realization of the unlimited self. That supreme self is often written in written literature with a S in uppercase. Aviditva asmat lokat praiti sakripanaha. Kripanaha means very miserable. Kripa yogyaha. And kripa here is where everybody else shows possibly compassion, pities him. Oh my, this man is hungry, has not eaten anything for 3 days. They come and give him a piece of bread, some food, out of pity. Do you and I want to be pitiable like that? There is a saying in English, it is better to pity than to be pitied. If we are in a position to pity others, that may be a kind of ego by itself, but relatively, we would rather pity rather than be at the receiving end of pity from others. So, Kripanaha is someone who deserves to be pitied. So, we took the liberty of titling it here, Pity him who ends his life without knowing the Akshara. Like someone goes to a conference, let's say there was this big conference, maybe it is ending today or tomorrow. What is that? AI conference, AI meet is going on, I guess, in New Delhi. Big stalwarts in artificial intelligence, worldwide, international experts, young and old, women and men have all gathered there. And a lot of announcements are also made. Some of you may be knowing Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google and Alphabet, both announced how much is that? Some huge amount of billions and billions of dollars are going to be invested in Vishakhapatnam. Way back many years ago, he studied at an IIT. that was not far from Vishakhapatnam. Kharagpur IIT. And whenever he went home to Tamil Nadu, I suppose Chennai or some other small town, his train passed through. As a middle income student, he must have taken a second class ticket or something economical, gone by train. He said it in his speech. I knew Vishakhapatnam in those days when I used to travel to my native place by train. It was such a simple place. Today, already it has risen to great heights. And we at Google will invest such and such figure. And he used some technical words. So now my point is, I'm using it as analogy. Somebody enthusiastically goes for the AI conference, AI meet in New Delhi. And whether it's 3 days or 5 days or 2 days, that person goes around and sees the cafeteria are very good there and some cultural program and some entertainment and very handsome men and very pretty women are also going around showing off. He makes friends, gives them his card and he collects their card. Does not learn even a little bit about what artificial intelligence is. Someone goes there only for the glamour, the music, the dance, the good food, and all those glitter and glamour of the international conference in New Delhi. He comes back and you ask him, oh, okay, what did you learn there about AI? He says, I had no time for AI. Rama, Rama, why did you go there? Upanishads would say, if you have come on this earth having a human body and you did not get anywhere near this self knowledge, we pity you. This human birth and this earth are not meant for all kinds of other things. I have visited 25 countries. I know 7 languages. And like that, you give a long list of your achievements. Upanishads say, who cares? Have you known who you are? Have you known this Akshara principle, the imperishable truth? If you say no, very sad. So someone put up this beautiful picture of Gārgi and Yajnavalkya. There are no photographs available. There are no graphic descriptions of either how Yajnavalkya looked or how Gārgi looked. As I already said, Shrangeri Acharyas say Gārgi was a very old woman already in her 60s or 70s, whereas progressive missions like Chinmaya mission in its Upanishad Ganga would show Gargi to be quite young, spirited, and enthusiastically. There's one episode on this Gargi Adnavalke Samvada in the TV serial Upanishad Ganga. She is quite young, maybe in her mid 20s or so. She is so excited. The episode begins with her rushing to her father and saying, her father's name was Vachaknu, I think. Anyway, she says, Pitaha, Pitaha, my dear father, please permit me. There is a very fascinating get together of Vedic scholars. Give me your permission, I'll go and attend. And the father, who from her birth onwards has seen her maturity, her scholarship, her scholastic discipline, all those qualities, says, I knew you would ask for this. You have my blessings. Go. And she comes rushing. They have dramatized it. But they have shown the Chinmaya missions producers and directors have shown Gargi to be very young. So Gargi questions Yajnavalkya. And I have taken the crux of the whole matter. What supports Akasha? Ordinary physics talks about everything as existing in Akasha and Kala, space and time. And the Vedanta asks here, you may add the word Kala. what supports this space-time continuum. I said they are not compartments. They are not watertight compartments. Space and time are one whole. That is also one of the hard uh, concepts for most students of physics. What is meant by that continuum? Puja Swami Chinmayananji used to loudly say, Einsteinian space-time continuum. That continuum, I myself have been a student of science, but I can't claim to have understood it fully. Uh, I'm sure when 5,000 people in those big cities attended his talks on Gita, when he said that expression, maybe 5 or 10 people knew the meaning of continuum. All the same, Swamiji had a certain sense about it. He spoke with passion, and the audience enjoyed such expressions coming out from his mouth. Space, time, continuum. It's a continuity. So, what is beneath or beyond even Akasha and Kala? That's where we come to crux of the matter. Yadnavalkya replies, I am taking the eighth mantra of the eighth Brahmana, that is section of the third chapter of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. There are other teachers also in Brihadāranyaka Upanishad, but for the foremost among the teachers that show up in Brihadāranyaka is Yajnavalkya. And his answer, culled out from the eighth mantra, is a set of 25 negations. 23 negations starting with the preposition or suffix a. Astulam, not gross. Ananu, not subtle. Ahrasvam, not short. Adirgam, not long. And so on. We will see the translation in a couple of minutes. I made it 23 plus 2 because after 23 words starting with a, which is not short, hrasva. Hrasva is short. There are two which say that truth, na tad ashnati kinchana, it doesn't eat anything. And kaschana na tad ashnati, no one eats it. What is this Upanishad talking about eating? Eating here in philosophy means having something as the object. One who eats is the subject, what is eaten is the object. So, though the word eating is used, it may stand for seeing, hearing, touching, thinking, speaking, any activity of the karmendriya or jnanendriya or even the antakarana. The subject-object duality. The subject is the atta, one who eats, and the object in any transaction is anna. Anna is adyate iti annam. Atta or atra means one who eats. Natadashnati kinchana, natadashnati kaschana. So, for simplicity, let's take the translation given in upanishads.org.in, and I have titled it, what is conveyed by this very interesting mantra is, notice your concept or your notion of short, somewhere long, somewhere you see something as good, somewhere you feel something is bad. As even your mind and intellect go into so many labels, so many uh, ideas, so many opinions, that is where you smell the false. Smell the false. We are all so opinionated. J. Krishnamurti once asked a student of his, Jim, can you spend one day without an opinion on anything? Can you spend a single day without an opinion about anything. Just go around, alert, be awake, but do not have an opinion. That man must have been so puzzled. I wouldn't be surprised if the man slowly mumbled, Mr. Krishnamurti, in my opinion, it is very difficult to be without opinion. Even in confessing his inability, he might have used the expression, in my opinion. Other day I was traveling with a lady in a car in Mumbai. Within 2 minutes of our car starting, she said to me, Swamiji, what is your opinion about the present Prime Minister Modi? And very soon we both discussed how, both in India and abroad, a lot of people are very strongly opinionated against Modi, and a large number are opinionated for Modi. Upanishads would say, don't have anything to do with, leave Modi aside. Any opinion that your mind jumps into, question it. So, if you may add a line to this mantra, it would say, Atman or the Supreme Akshara is neither pro Modi nor anti Modi. It is neither pro Trump nor anti Trump. Because all this is what our conditioned mind indulges. In fact, that very nice lady, very good natured, and I, after some discussion, both of us concluded we are all caught in conditionings. We are all caught in narratives. In psychology, some of you may know, there is something called confirmation bias. We develop very soon a bias for or against something, and then we want more and more confirmation for that bias. So those who are drawn to the leftist bias want to subscribe to leftist magazines, want to attend leftist conferences, want to meet leftist speakers. Everything they want to go into more and more leftist, so-called leftist, stuff. And that confirms I am right. Yeah, this lady also said, wow. And this very, very wonderful man came from Germany. And you know what he said? He said exactly what I have always thought it's right. So you get more. And meanwhile, the rightist people will also go pick up rightist magazines, rightist newspapers, rightist TV channels, rightist speakers, rightist writers. They want to hear, watch, read, those things only. They feel they're some kind of satisfaction. So Upanishads say, come on, you are already so ensnared, caught. Why do you want to get more and more caught? Smell the falls, we have titled this slide. Smell the falls. And as soon as you see the limitations of conditionings, let go of it. Don't strengthen your condition. See things as they are. If it's very difficult for you to see things as they are, at least don't jump into any conclusion without knowing the whole story. So this is a mighty challenge. So the translation goes that, O Gārgi, the knowers of Brahman call the imperishable. Question was, what supports Akasha? The imperishable, for which the Sanskrit word is Akshara. Akshara supports Akasha. Astula and Ananu is neither gross nor subtle. The eighth mantra. Then you have Ahraswam Adirgham, neither short nor long. Alohitam Asneham, neither red nor moist. These are not very easy to translate, but the translation here is pretty good. And it is said, Atamaha, Achayam and Atamaha. Achayam is neither shadow, Atamaha, Tamaha is darkness, nor darkness, neither air nor Akasha. Asangaha, unattached. And it says it is not unattached. Asangaha, it's not attached. And we can also add it's not unattached also. Don't put it into any camp. Yeah, the main thing is asanga. Arasaha, without taste. Agandham, it's put in neuter instead of agandaha. It is called agandham because these are all describing aksharam, which is neuter. In Sanskrit grammar, the adjective has to match the gender of the noun. So, suppose there is a flower, pushpam, you have to say apushpam, rather, agandham pushpam, a flower without a smell. But suppose it is, a masculine noun, kasara, a lake without fish. Then you can't say amatsyam kasara. Kasara is masculine. Therefore, amatsyaha kasara. So, agandham, arasam, asangam, and then without ears, without eyes, without tongue, without mind, it's non-effulgent. That is shaking. Generally, we are told that supreme truth is full of light. But here it is said, atejaskam. What is dismissed is your mind's limited conceptualization of light. Once Swami Vivekananda, while traveling, asked the audience, all of you now close your eyes and imagine sky. All of them did the exercise for 2 minutes. Then he said, open your eyes now. And he asked people one by one, how big was your sky? One said, my sky was so big, equal to 10 football fields. Somebody said 100 football fields. Somebody said as big as the Atlantic Sea. And finally he said, see, your mind can only visualize something finite. Even if you say it is 100 times all the oceans put together, it is limited. Therefore, when it is a non-effulgent, already it was said it is not darkness. Don't go from one to the opposite. Without vital breath or mouth, without measure, without exterior or interior, it does not eat anything, nor is it eaten by anyone. So this is one answer. Now we take the mantra where the title of the whole presentation, the first slide had talked about it. See, if someone does not know this underlying truth, but knows everything else, does so many other things, the mantra asks, of what use is that? You might have achieved a lot of things, got many awards, got so much recognition, so many people envy you. But the mantra says, Yova etadaksharam Gārgi, Gārgi Sambodhana here, O Gārgi, aviditva, aksharam aviditva, not knowing this truth, which is the answer to your question. This truth is the basis for Akasha. Asmin Loki, in this world, highly respected, Juhoti. Oh, about somebody you say, she has come conducted so many Havan, Homa, big Yajna Yaga, Yajate. Yajna is another kind of fire sacrifice, fire ritual. Tapastapyate performs austerities. Bahuni Varsha Sahasrani, for thousands of years someone performs austerities. The mantra says ruthlessly, Antavadeva. Antavat means having limits. Anta means it has an end. It ends. It perishes. Therefore, without knowing the Akshara, without knowing Brahman, whatever you achieve will not add up to much. In fact, very soon your hand is as empty as it was. The finite can never take us to the infinite. You may say, no, I'm going to win next year the Nobel Prize. Somebody says, I'm going to win the Olympic gold medal. All is that finite or is it infinite? The finite. Finite can never lead us to the infinite. Vedanta always talked about karma cannot give you moksha because karma is finite and karma can only give its karma phala. If karma is finite, karma phala also is finite. So we are in search of infinity. Whosoever in this world, O Gārgi, without knowing this imperishable, offers oblations, performs sacrifices, juhoti, yajate, and practices austerities, tapas tapyate, even for many thousands of years, each of them, each of these offering oblations, performing sacrifices, practicing austerity, each of them, let us say, is done for thousands of years, finds all these acts leading to something which is perishable. And in the last part of the mantra, Yo va etadaksharam gargi aviditva, not having known this akshara, this imperishable truth, asma lokat praiti, prayanam karoti, sa kripanaha. He is miserable. He deserves to be pitied. We are all are caught in that. And if anyone were to know this truth, what a blessed life his or hers is. Ya etadaksharam gargi viditva asma lokat praiti sab brahmanaha. Here, undoubtedly, the word brahmana stands for one who knows Brahman. Brahma janati iti brahmana. Not by caste, not by knowing mantras by heart, not by being authorized in some societies to perform various rituals, to officiate in a whole lot of, you know, uh, religious ceremonies, and so on. All that is a secondary meaning. They are also called Brahmanas. We do use, even in today's world, we say, yeah, there was a big puja and the Brahmanas came from Kashi. They were called from Kanchi. They came from such and such guru, some Gurukula, and so on. That has its own position, its pros and cons, its plus and minus, but it is a valid expression these days. Even today, the so-called reservation policy also identifies who is Brahmin, and then some seats may be open to that person who is non-Brahmin, who is further down, who is further down. Therefore, the the meaning attached to Brahmana or Brahmin in many other contexts continues to have a place in modern society. But here, Upanishad is not talking about Brahmins as defined in law or in some you know matters of social justice and all those things. Brahma janati iti brahmana. The translation here goes, whosoever, O Gārgi, departs from this world without knowing this imperishable truth is miserable. I equate it to being pitiable. But he, O Gārgi, who departs from this world after knowing the imperishable is a knower of Brahman. He or she is truly blessed. Therefore, on this high plateau of spiritual wisdom, there are only simple two definitions. Who is a loser? Without caring or without taking into account, without even wanting to know anything about other fields, only one question is asked. Okay, did this man know Brahman? No, then he's a loser. He is a loser. Did this man know Brahman? Yeah, he knew Brahman. Then he is the true winner. Perhaps it is that kind of spirit which in Christianity took a different form. Those who believe in Jesus go to heaven. Those who don't believe in Jesus, no matter what they have done, how kind they were, how generous they were, how disciplined they were, how dutiful they were, all that, nothing matters. You surrender to Jesus, He only saves you. That kind of propaganda also is going around even today. But in the Upanishads, it is not about any particular God form, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, etc. It is a certain truth which shakes hands with modern science, modern physics, something which is transcendental to your identity itself. Your identity, when you know Brahma, you don't belong to any of the four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. When you know Brahma, you don't belong to any ashramas, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. When you know Brahman, no nationality, no identity. This is a different ball game here. So be the winner, be the true winner by Swami Chinmayananji would say, hasten slowly. Don't be too hasty, that will spoil the game. And don't lie back and say, oh, I will get it when God wants. Then you will lose. Hasten slowly. He wrote a little book also those days. Hasten slowly, Chinmayananji. With this we conclude, and let me open it for any comments or questions. Hari Om. So, one comment, the one who doesn't know the Akshara is pitiable. A woman saint from North Kerala said she felt for us the way we feel for handicapped people. Yes, 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 a woman saint, surely, how nicely she put it. So, this Kripana is like being on par with some handicapped person. How rest of the society feels compassion for the handicapped man or woman. Like that, saints feel so bad. Oh, why are these people not knowing, not getting to know Brahman? Second comment: the one who doesn't know Akasha is pitiable. A woman saint from North Kerala. Ah, that is repeated. Okay. He is eaten by none. He eats nothing. Has no opinions and is untouched by opinion. If others have an opinion about him, it doesn't matter to him, and he doesn't have any opinion about others. This state each one of us experiences in deep sleep. So true. One more comment. Finite can never give us infinity. There is a shloka na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagena eke amritatvamana shuhu. It's a profound verse from the Kaivalya Upanishad or Mahanarayana Upanishad. Renunciation of ego. Beautiful. These comments are most appropriate. Let me wait for another half a minute if there is any question or a comment by others. There seems to be no such comment or question. Wonderful. All right. Namaste. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Hari Om. So let us conclude.